Hey, what's up, naughty community? Happy Sunday, and welcome back to my naughty hobby for another crochet tutorial with Amber. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create this octagon stitch combo throughout your pieces. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using a 4mm hook and some worsted weight yarn. Usually I keep this part hidden, but I'm using Caron Simply Soft in lavender blue for this tutorial. So in order to get this combo to work up correctly, you're going to need a multiple of 10 plus 4 for your beginning chain. And I am going to show you guys my notes. I think I've told you guys before that when I'm kind of writing out these patterns or tweaking these stitch tutorials that I give you, I do like a basic rundown, and I have a lot of people who have been asking me for those notes. And so just real quick before we get started, I am going to put my notes here. And like I said, they're usually pretty crazy and it might be hard for you to read, but some of the followers did tell me, even if it's difficult, please give us your written instructions. And so here it is. We're going to be working a 4-row repeat to get this to work up larger and larger. And this is the basic shape that I came up with for the sides of the octagon, which kind of describes the stitches a little bit more. So you're welcome to screenshot this and save it for later. I'll also post it at the end of the video for those who jump on late. But let's go ahead and get started. So again, here it is. And this also is going to be one of those patterns where it will be beneficial for you to block after you're finished, because that's when the real delight of the pattern comes out. As you can see, as I put a little bit of pressure and pull it, you can see that octagon shape a little bit better. But this would be beautiful for like macrame, for a plant holder, or even a shawl, something lightweight. But let's get started. So like I said, a multiple of 10 plus 4. So we are going to chain 34. Hey Molly, glad you were able to jump on today. There's 30. And 34. So our starting chain for this tutorial is 34. Now for the first row, which this will be, when I say repeat from here, go back to row 1, this is what I'm referring to. Even though it is our foundation chain, it won't change throughout the rest of this pattern. Some patterns they do, but in this one, it won't. So row 1 in our 5th chain from our hook, so we're going to count, we don't ever count the hoop or the loop that's already on your hook. We're going to count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So into this stitch right here, we're going to place a double crochet. Now our chain that's left over, that does count as a stitch. So we created our first one, but our chain here counts as our first stitch of that row. Now we're going to chain 3. skip the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3 into this one here. We're going to place 3 double crochets into the same stitch. Chain 3, skip 3, and now we're going to work a 3 double crochet together. So skip 1, 2, 3, starting with this next stitch here. So let's just yarn over right now. 1, 2, 3, starting in this one, we're going to do 3 together. So the way that we do that is just like we're starting a regular double crochet, but then we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the next chain and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 2. One more time, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and now we'll yarn over and we will pull through the remaining 4 to complete the stitch. So it should be looking like that. Excuse me. Now we're going to chain 3 again, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the next chain, we'll place 3 double crochet into that same chain. So it's basically, you know, your double crochets going up and going down and up, the way that they're facing. And we're going to continue this same pattern across where we're chaining 3, skipping 3, and now we're going to work those 3 double crochet together. So it wasn't quite, I think yesterday, if you were on my live yesterday, I said it was going to be like 8 repeat rows, but it's actually only 4 that we're going to be doing. Which is another reason why I showed the pattern, is because until you get familiar and have done multiple rows, it probably will be a little bit difficult to memorize which stitches you need to do and how many and all of that good jazz. So it does, we are going to have it a little bit different at the end. We're still going to chain 3 and skip the next 3 chains, but now we are going to do a double crochet 2 together. So over the last 2 stitches, just like we did those groups of 3, we'll work 1 but in a group of 2. So your first row should look like this. Hey Lisa, we started with a foundation of 34 chains. All right, starting on row 2, We're going to chain up 8. Four. There's our 8 chains. I know it seems a little dramatic, but the first 4 chains count as a stitch, and then we have our chains that add as like the skip between our next stitches, and you'll see what I mean right here. So we're going to go ahead and skip over our chain 3. We're not going to work any stitches into there, but on the tops of our previous double crochets, we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the stitches. Now where we did the double crochets together in our previous row, we're not doing anything there. So we're going to chain 7. Oops, 5, 6, 7. And again, with those 3 double crochets, you'll work 1 double crochet into the top of each. Chain 7, skip over your 3 together, and then work 3 double crochet into the top of the 3 double crochet. And when we come up to the end of our row, instead of doing 7, we're only going to do 3 chains. And to not be confused, we're going to be working into this stitch right here, and we are going to do a double treble, which is yarning over 3 times, so we can reach the height of the rest of our stitches. Just like that. And this looks a little funky right now, but it's going to work itself out, I promise. Starting on row 3, we're going to chain up 3. That got a little weird. Let's go ahead and chain our 3 before we turn. So chain up 3 and turn your work. In the same stitch right here, in our first stitch, we're going to place a double crochet. We're going to chain 3, skip over our chain spaces. We're going to do those double crochet 3 together now. Just like that. So there's that shape that I had showed you on the written portion. And in between each of these double crochet 3 together, or double crochet 3, you're going to chain 3 and skip over. Let's make sure here. Oh no. So chain 3, skip 3 of your chains. So let me bring it in a little bit closer for you, where you can see from the top here. we're going to skip 1, 2, 3. Into that fourth chain, we're going to work the 3 double crochet into 1 stitch. So I like to work under the back bump. And we've started the base for the next, I guess we could call it like a building block. Should look like that. Chain 3. And now the 3 double crochet together over these next 3 stitches. Chain 3. Skip 3 of your chains, 1, 2, 3, and then into that fourth, we're going to put 3 double crochet. Chain 3, double crochet 3 together, going to go ahead and chain 3. Now you can do this part whichever is going to be easier for you. You can count up from your base 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th chain, or you can count from where the chains start here and count over 3, 1, 2, 3, and right into this stitch here, depending on how you decided to count it. We're going to do 2 double crochet into that chain. So far your piece should be looking like this. We're getting ready to start the final row before we start back at row 1. So we will chain 3, turn our work. We're going to skip that first stitch. This chain 3 counts as our first stitch here. And we're going to place a double crochet right there into the second stitch. We will chain 7. And we're going to skip over the double crochet 3 together, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into the top of our 3 double crochet. So again, chain 7. skip over this whole section here, and we'll work 1 double crochet into that next, I guess, cluster of double crochets from our previous row. Now we're still going to do 7 chains, and we're going to place 1 double crochet here, and then we're also going to place a double crochet into the top of our chain 3. So again, if it helps you to turn your work and find that third, I can see there's my third one there. Locate the back bump of it, and I like to go through there. And I will work one more segment out with you guys, but before I start back on row 1, I'll bring up the pattern again just in case anybody wants to try to gruel through my notes with me and follow along in that way. Maybe I'll bring it just a little closer of what that looks like. If you wanted to grab, like I said, a screenshot of it. But we're starting here on row 1. So disregard the in the 5th chain because that's for our foundation row. We're still going to be working this, the double crochet, and then so on and so forth. So hopefully you got a screenshot of that if you wanted to follow along. And I see here at our beginning we still have that kind of odd looking whatever. That's going to be our turn chain. And that's helpful for if you want to add these pieces together after you're finished. This guy makes it a little bit easier for your corners. So we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. That's going to count as our first stitch as well. So we are going to skip over 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th chain. We're going to start those 3 double crochet into 1 stitch again. I believe the chain 3, I feel like I'm missing something with this starting. I think it was the chain 3 which counts for our first stitch, but then to reach that one, chain 2, just so it doesn't start pulling your work funny. See how in this beginner one, maybe I'm missing one of my, I'm going to consult my swatch piece that I did with how I started that. Okay, I see what I did. So to make sure that we have this right, whoops, we're still going to have the chain 3, but we're going to put a double crochet into that same spot as our first, as our starting stitch. Now we'll do the chain 3. And work 1, 2, 3 into the 4th, 3 double crochet. Chain 3. And now we're going to do 3 double crochet together. Chain 3, find that 4th chain, 1, 2, 3 right here, and place 3 double crochets. Chain 3, and work 3 double crochets over this group of double crochets. And now you'll see part of the reason with these chains, we're going to work 2 double crochet together over these next 2 stitches. That goes into that top chain. Why is this looking so funny to me? Pulled weird, like something. Oh, well that's why, because I totally missed the chain there. Chain 3, and then we need to work 1 more group. Anytime you are working a row where you're going to have those chain 7, in that 4th chain, you're always going to work 3 double crochets into it. So I skipped along to the end because I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, because in this pattern we're going with basically the 3 double crochet into 1 and then 3 double crochet together. So chain 3, and now we will work those, which, oh, look at that, it's fitting so much better. 2 double crochet together. Hi, Jackie. So that is after we have completed our second. We've just started on like the second repeat, row 1. So now we're going to be working row 2, which is chain 8, and turn your work. Skipping over our chain 3 spaces, we're just going to place a double crochet into each of the double crochets from our previous row. We're going to chain 7, skip over this, and work 3 double crochet. You can see your first like completed octagon right there in the middle. chain 7, and now we're just going to chain the chain 3 going to our double treble and our last stitch. Which a double treble, you yarn over 3 times. You're on row 2, top of, we want to work that at the top of our first double crochet knot in the chain. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Your piece should be looking like this. Again, if you were to pull this a little bit tighter, you can see the pattern just a little bit better. And we are getting ready to start on row 3. So we will chain up 3 and turn our work. We're going to double crochet into that same stitch. Going to chain 3. Skip over this chain. We're going to do 3 double crochet together. Thanks, Jean. Okay, I see that we have one of those chain 7s. So like I was saying the last row, anytime you see that chain 7, in the 4th chain, you're going to put 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, I count the back bumps, and then into this one here is where we place those 3. When we come to the end of our row, of row 3, again, you can count up from the base or you can count over. I find because of the way I chain and turn, it's easier for me to count over 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th. For row 3, we're going to place 2 double crochet. See my yarn splitting, so let's try that again. Okay, and round 4. We're going to chain up 3, turn our work. We're going to double crochet into the next stitch, this one right here. Now chain 7. Get back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to skip over those together stitches. We're going to work 1 double crochet into the tops of the double crochets from our previous round. Chain 7. Skip the together stitches, work 1 double crochet into the next 3. Going to double crochet, or excuse me, chain 7, and then we are going to place a double crochet in our last stitch, and then also in the top of the chain 3, or if it's easier for you, it won't be a big deal if you just place your other double crochet into the space and not necessarily into the chain. I actually sometimes prefer that when a pattern calls for working directly into the chain. And the reason for that is because I feel like it makes your work a little bit sturdier. You know, if you wanted to add this on to another piece, or, you know, block it out, do a border or something on it, it's easier, at least for me, to work through stitches that aren't held together by just like the back bump, where you'll see the stitch coming off of just the back bump. I think it makes it a little bit more stable. But that is the tutorial today. If you were late jumping on, the video will be posted to my wall after we're done here. You can go back and watch it at your own pace, pause, rewind, do all of those things that you know, I find my own self doing when I'm following a video tutorial. So hey Marianne. Hi, Sue. I see I got some, I try to stay focused on the pattern today, more than being chatty Cathy, because that hasn't really been serving me very well, but I can see you guys are feeling a little chatty, so I'll flip you around and chat with you guys just for a few minutes. While my kids keep it together, let's see if I can't keep my stand from falling and then giving you more than you bargained for. Not that I'm not dressed or anything, but so it's not slipping down. Hi guys. Hey Margaret, thanks for the comments. Hi Liesel. Hi Jean, thanks for the compliments. Let's see what you guys are saying. And hi Sue. So again, here's the piece that we just did. I think that it would look a lot better if it was blocked. If you have a blocking board, that's, you know, great. But if you don't have a blocking board, I've seen, you know, I've seen like foam pieces done, or you could even use, let's see here, an ironing board, which I don't even know that I own an ironing board. If we're being completely honest. We do very little ironing in this house, but you could always put your piece onto an ironing board with a few pins in them until there's some tension built up on the sides of them, and then you spritz it with just a little bit of water or starch to help it maintain the shape. That's the whole point of blocking, is so you have straighter edges. It makes your work look a little bit neater, but it definitely isn't, you know, it's not necessary. But for those of you out there who might be a little bit OCD like I am and like things super straight and neat looking, blocking is probably a technique that you definitely should look into. Molly, I sometimes have a hard time working into chains. Yeah, chains can be difficult, especially if you use a really tight tension when you do work, then it makes it even more difficult. You know, figuring out an even tension is a tip that I give to anybody who's just starting out and new with crochet, of like, you know, how can I get my stitches to look better? Or, you know, how can I get them from, you know, a lot of people, their starting piece, it ends up fanning out, and it's because they've worked their foundation chain too tight. And then as the work progresses and the stitches become easier to work into, they loosen their tension a little bit, which causes your work to grow substantially. And so I tell a lot of people to practice with your tension because it makes such a huge difference. Thanks, Catherine. So aside from hooking this up today, I'm interested to hear, you know, what you guys are up to and what you're working on and how you've been spending your last week. Maybe that I feel everybody's been put on quarantine or shut down. How have you been passing the time in your house? I've been slowly trying to like disinfect each one of my rooms, and I'm talking like baseboards and completely taking everything out of closets and rearranging them and decluttering and all of that stuff that maybe I should have been doing anyways, but because we are forced to be at home and I'm seeing it, I'm just trying to get my house like clean and organized. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who work super tight into their work. I'm just reading Molly's comment about that she tends to work on the tight side, and just makes working stitches a little bit more difficult in my experience. But since I don't really see anybody saying stuff, or maybe Facebook's being laggy, I don't know. I'm probably going to be jumping off of here. I did just post a picture of the completed lovey. I did a bunny lovey. It's like the tag-along. I think I called it the tag-along bunny. And I'm looking for a total of 10 testers. My kiddos are going to pick 5 from Facebook and 5 from Instagram to test for me. And please only offer to test if you can have it done and completed before Wednesday or by Wednesday morning, because that's when I hope to make this design live. I wish I had it with me, but I left it upstairs on my crochet counter. For real, I would love to say that my house will be spotless by the end of this, but I got 3 kids who are definitely pushing against that plan, who are like, Mom's just cleaned the house. What can we destroy? For example, I'll tell you guys right now. Last night before bed, and with it being Saturday, I tell my kids, all right, I'm going to let you guys stay up until 10 o'clock, you know. Stay up till 10. Hopefully you'll sleep in the next day. 10 o'clock rolls around and I tell my boys, go brush your teeth, get ready for bed. And I notice that my 5-year-old is taking longer than he should. Hold on just one second. What is it? Hi. What's up?
Nothing.
Okay.
I just wanted to see how you were doing.
I'm doing really good. I'm still alive, buddy.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, bud. So my little 5-year-old, tell him to go brush his teeth. And I notice I don't hear the brushing. I don't hear anything going on. So I decide to go into the bathroom, knock, knock. Silas, go in there. And he turns around with this look on his face. Said, what happened? He goes, well, I had a little trouble with my teeth. I said, what do you mean you had a little trouble with your teeth? He's like, well, I couldn't get them brushed. Okay, why couldn't you get them brushed? I put my toothbrush down the drain. He put his entire toothbrush down the middle of the drain. So I was like, oh boy. Okay, we'll deal with this, right? Like I'm going to get you a new toothbrush, or we have extra toothbrushes here in the house. But I'm like, how am I going to get this out? So I go to get a pair of pliers to retract the toothbrush from the sink. Apparently he thought that the pipes needed to be cleaned. Every time I tried to grab it, it pushed the toothbrush down a little further and a little further. And maybe you're wondering, why was the little cap thing off? You know, the little stopper that you can push up and down. Well, unfortunately, my boys did away with that a long time ago, to the point where I was like, this is not even worth replacing, because they keep unscrewing it and taking it out. Or it kept getting clogged, so we kept having to take it out anyways. So long story short, after I'm finished here, I get to go and take my pipes apart up in my bathroom. My husband works out of town most of the time, which he's still out of town. And I'm going to go toothbrush diving for probably a nasty, slime-covered nastiness, you know. Especially since it's the boys' bathroom. I'm just like, I don't think anybody does, but I really don't enjoy taking pipes apart. Everything considered, my kids have been pretty amazing. I have wonderful children, very thoughtful, wonderful children, but you know, they're kids and they do kid things. And so even though I was frustrated in the moment, it's like, man, you know, I could be dealing with something so much worse than a toothbrush in the sink, which it's annoying, yes, but I can just take the pipe off and problem will be solved, and I'll get him up there helping me too. I'm not willing to put any of my hooks unless I do I do have some cheap hooks, but I just envision my beautiful Clover Amore hooks that I just love. I'm so partial to them, that a hook down that sink, oh, who knows what kind of science projects my kids have been putting down there. My boys always keep me on my toes. Lisa, like they're funny kids and they're very inquisitive. They're always wanting, you know, always wanting to do like little science experiments. I think we're going to do a little bit of baking today after we retract the toothbrush. When I kept pushing it down further and further last night, I was just like, this is a future me problem. Like my boys are in bed, the sink's not going to be used. So I put a little bit of plastic over the top of it and called it good for the night, but I'll go and get that taken care of now. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he wasn't dropping his toothbrush. He was placing it there. It's not the first time he's placed things into our sink or into places that they really shouldn't been. Kind of like the vents on the bottom of your floorboards. That's another little hideout place that I noticed my boys were putting their favorite minifigs, you know, their little Lego minifigures. So we got the shop vac out for that one and rescued probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 loose Legos and about 10 minifigs. And I'm like, didn't you miss these? Like, why'd you keep putting them down the vent? Well, I knew that Silas couldn't get to him because his arm's not long enough to reach. I was like, buddy, if Silas's arm isn't long enough to reach in there, you know, how are you going to get it out? Because your guys' arms are about the same length. You've only got maybe about 1/2 of an inch on him, if that. He's like, well, I guess I really didn't think about that when I was putting the Legos in there. I said, yeah, bud. All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here. I really appreciate everybody who's jumped on, though, and joined in the conversation. I hope that you found the tutorial helpful. And if you did, I hope that you left me a little comment so I know that I'm reaching the right people. I've got some new things, you know, in the books, working on some new stitch combos for you guys. Stay encouraged, stay motivated, stay creative, stay with a hook in your hand, all that good jazz. Hopefully I'll see you guys all real soon. Happy hooking and have a wonderful Sunday. Bye, guys.